I should probably do this video in like 10 parts, but we're going to try to cram it all in one video. So state of the systems right now for R5 Reloaded. The back end is coming along. I just wanted to talk through everything, starting out with what's kind of new here. So this file right here is public facing. It's a file of all the registered player settings. Now this is just a template, so these will be unique to every server, and by unique to every server, that's up to the server host. If they have 10 different servers on the same IP address, the differentiating factor is their identifier, which they put in their config file. So if they all have the same identifier, then every player that joined that server with that identifier would always have the same settings for that server host. And another way they could get around that, if they had different IP addresses, they could use their API key coupled with the same identifier if they have that set up. So there's that. And basically these settings can all be registered here, so whenever somebody needs a setting, you can just pop one in. It's not going to matter because in the scripts you have to actually register. Let's just talk about that real quick, might as well, because there's so much to talk about anyway. So right now these aren't typed. It's the only thing that's not typed. I'll get to it, and those will be typed as well. So what you do is you'll register a callback, okay, and you can put in the setting name, which would have to be one of the settings from here. And then you would put the function that handles that. So what this is a function that gets called on the player, and it has the data of their setting. So you can do that if you want to manually, like maybe make a more optimized one, convert that string to something to use in your game mode. But usually most of the time these settings just get applied once. You could always use null p data as well, because it'll just get saved in the table for them. And so what it will do is you can access it with fetch player data, the UID and the setting name, or you can do save player data as well to save it. You'll want to do that before the match is over so that their data gets updated in persistence. If you don't save it, yeah, it's going to still put it out, but it's going to put it out whatever got saved last, so it would just put out whatever they came in with. You'd want to save their player data every time they updated their setting. I can't wait till that's typed. It's going to be so nice. Let's go over here to stats real quick, right? So we got stats. This is really cool because this whole system right here can be adapted to run every single stat in the game pretty efficiently. So we can type all these, and these can be ordered by group. I'll show you how all this works in a minute. It looks kind of like a bunch of crap right now, but basically you have a bunch of settings here. So if you wanted to add a new stat, you would just come in here and you'd pick a name. You'd want to pick a good name because it's what you're going to use in the scripts to register the stat. And I'll show you how to register that in a second. So let's just make one. Stat name, integer. No, I want a string. No, you know what? I want a float. Okay, name for stat. All right, cool, stat. Right. Display it. Yeah, display it, man. It's awesome. Right, pick a group, some group, whatever. Okay, added the backend. Okay, so here it is in some group. Cool, right? I want it back in default group, whatever. Okay, I don't care. You know, display it as well. I don't care. I don't have it registered in the scripts for this game mode, game type, or core, or whatever. You know, you can register them all. Right now, all I have is the core. There's other settings that also get tracked, but that's more of an aggregation-based tracking. These are like live settings. This is more about data that comes in than goes out, which is pretty awesome. All right, look at that, like bam. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and get over to how to register some of these stats and what that looks like maybe in a game mode. Okay, so right here you have a function called register stat, and what you can do is you can register your own stat, right, as long as it's in the back end. So let's go ahead and get to the back end. Say we're a helper, or we ask somebody, we say, hey, can you pop in a stat for me real quick? Or maybe you want a couple stats. In fact, we do need a couple stats, don't we? Let's get some scenarios, game mode stats going on here. First thing I'm going to do is I don't want this here. These can be added and deleted at will, right? These are just groups, and this is how the grouping appears. Let me show you real quick how that looks, right? All right, click the leaderboard. Now we come down here, click on a random player's name, and we scroll down, and right here it says script registered stats. Oh, there's none, right? It's just all the core stats, pretty much. Okay, so what we can do is we could quickly show that, right? And then we come over here, and then we can see on player stats that there they are. Oh, look, cool stats, right? And so if you delete a stat from here, okay, it's going to delete stats from the entire database. Unlike here in player persistence, where it's only if you delete these stats, you can add them back. Their settings actually don't delete from here because these all are server based, right? And this is basically the template that allows stats to be loaded in or saved. Without them on this list, they can't be saved, they can't be loaded in. Either way. Let's go ahead and turn this off, right? We don't need to show that. We don't need to show any of that. That's all right. We don't need to show any of that, right? We need to get rid of that. That needs to go away. What we're going to do is we're going to add a group name called scenarios stats. This is the logic name. This doesn't have to be pretty. This is where we'll have scenarios. Visible, sure, add group, right? Okay, visible. Now the question is, since there's no stats, I have it set to show the title anyway. No, okay. So it has to be at least one stat in there. There's no stats in there, so we're not going to worry about it. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to unshow scenarios, okay? We're going to think of a stat. Scenarios, kills, right? Display name for stat. Kills. And so we're going to go ahead and pick scenario stats, right? And we want this to be an integer, right? And we want to display, it doesn't matter if we display it here right now because the main section is not displayed, so it's not going to display anything. If you look right here, we come up here, blah, 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 there's nothing displayed. Cool, right? So now we can go in game and we can see, like, when we load up, right? Nothing's going to be there until we register it. So let's register scenarios. What do we name it? Scenarios kills, okay. And just for the hell of it, we won't do anything with the data coming in, and we won't do anything with the data coming out, and that's fine, okay. I'll explain that in just a minute. Okay. 0. We're going to add that as well. We're going to add scenarios, deaths, right? Display name for stat. We're going to do deaths. You got it. Then we're going to do group name. We already have a group name here, scenarios. Boom. So now we have 2 stats. Okay. So now that's cool. And when we're ready, we'll show it. Right now, there's nothing to show. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and show it. Why not? Why not show scenarios stats? We can load anybody's stats. Okay. And there you see it. Scenarios kills deaths. Okay. And make it, right? And what I'm thinking here is say this is scenarios, right? What do we have? Okay. Okay. So I already have it started here. Just tracker stat scenarios kills, right? We might even do a var function, tracker stat scenarios deaths, right? And so since the player could have left, you don't want to okay, so what'll come in is the UID, right? This what'll come in. If we have register stats, scenarios kills, register stats, scenarios deaths, okay. So this is what we made in our back end. Should be like get player metrics array UID dot. So it'd be like this equal playlist dot fs scenarios, right? We register these stats. I don't know why this is here like that. Right? I don't think I actually want to expose this. I want to make a wrapper for it. Even more beautiful. Right? So when we load in to 1v1, it doesn't matter at all. I'll show you why. It's still not on here. Jeez, I don't know what's going on. Let's load scenarios, right? All right, so now we have scenarios kills, scenarios deaths because we're on scenarios, right? And kills, deaths, core stats as well. Of course, why not? Add some bots, and these guys' stats are going to load in one at a time, just like that. Just like so. Now we have a game mode going here. Let's see. Definitely need to make it so that when all 3 opponents are downs, that it ends the thing. So now let's get a death, right? We need a death. And just to keep in mind, we also have a couple variants of this game mode. Cafe's been working on, so where you can also come in from a ship. I'll go ahead and kill me. Beautiful, right? Stats loaded. That's pretty cool, right? From like global stats. Go ahead and CC stop log, right? Go ahead and send that in manually. See right here that like scenarios, right? And we can see that the game ended early, right? But this is not actually set up for like team fights yet. It will be for this game mode and everything. I have like little squares instead of like a list. It'll have a slot of your team. Turn mod mode on so that we can actually see me, because I think I'm anonymized. mkos. Okay, there I am. So now we come down here and we look down here, and now I have 3 kills, 1 death, just like that. So magical, right? And that's pretty much how you're going to script all the stats that you want. Now, like I said, I pulled this, but there's going to be more stat systems in place to make this more easy. So we're like, I think what would be cool is it just auto accumulates, right? You register a stat, it'll give you a accumulator function where you can just call it accumulator. You can call the accumulator in like a callback, or you can call it in a whatever, right? So anyways, a couple more things too while we're at it, right? We go into the back end, and we go into here. Say if I delete this this section, all it's going to do is move all these stats up into default, right? So no harm, no foul if you do delete that. But yeah, that's how that works. The cool thing about this metrics system is that if the player leaves and comes back, it's still persistent, so it's still going to accumulate to the end of the round. When the round's over, they're going to get the kills for that round, regardless. So restricted rank, say the category is restricted rank, and your query is 500. So it's going to go off the API rules. So the API rules for when you submit registered rank, it says, okay, we're going to return the equivalent score for whatever rank that you want, right? It's going to change throughout the season. It's going to change daily. And so if you wanted to have a restricted server based on rank, you could put that to 10,000, 5,000, 2,000, whatever. There's other criteria you could put in there. There's a super global that you could submit this, you could replace this for it, called server. So if it's going to be like, so a query could be message of the day and then server, right? And so you do that. What that's going to do is that's going to give you your message of the day. If you can configure these in your control panel, so you could have message of the day 1, message of the day 2, right? Where you could get information into the server that you customize for your server. There's also going to be an API for all the stats and stuff. That's going to be public. That's going to be all automated. So you'll be able to see like a JSON file that explains all the different stats, their types, and how to use it. That'll automatically generate as stats change, with like logs as well for the changes. It's pretty cool. And so yeah, that's gonna be a lot easier as a community driven project.